In 1995, aid workers in the Bosnian Muslim town of Tuzla started to discover something terrifying. Sent to help civilians fleeing the town of Srebrenica, 30 miles southeast, they discovered that almost all of those seeking refuge were women, children, or the elderly. Thousands of men and boys were missing. It seemed as though they had simply disappeared. History Addicts, welcome back to History Supply. I'm Rishi. And in this video, we're going to be looking at why Srebrenica wasn't just another war, but another European genocide. Way back in 1918, the socialist state of Yugoslavia was formed. It was made up of many ethnic groups: Serbs, Croats, Bosnian Muslims, Albanians, Slovenes, and others. Historically and traditionally, these ethnic groups have always had a lot of cultural and religious tension between them. They have different ethnicities, worldviews, customs, traditions, and were part of different empires throughout the centuries. Then they were all herded into one country and told to be one united people. The president of Yugoslavia, Josip Broz Tito, managed to diffuse tensions between these different ethnic groups. Then Tito, the guy who was keeping everything together, died in 1980. The economy was rapidly going to shambles, and all the centuries of tension resurfaced. In 1992, Bosnian Serb forces wanted to annex territory in Bosnia and Herzegovina to Serbia. Thus began the brutal siege of Srebrenica. 3 years later, Srebrenica finally fell, and Bosnian Serb forces began the Srebrenica Offensive to kick out all the Bosnian Muslims, or Bosniaks. Serb forces advanced from the south, burning homes and creating terror. The Security Council eventually passed Resolution 819. This demanded that all parties and others concerned treat Srebrenica and its surroundings as a safe area, which should be free from any armed attack or any hostile act. The UN Peacekeeping Force, to ensure that Srebrenica remained a safe zone, was a lightly armed Dutch battalion known as DUTCHBAT. They were too lightly armed, and they weren't authorized to use force. They asked for NATO air support, but none came. They could not stop the Bosnian Serb forces from taking over the supposed UN safe zone. As the Serb forces advanced, 10,000 Bosniak men and boys tried to escape on foot through the forest, trying to make it to the town of Tuzla, 30 miles away. To avoid getting blown up in a minefield, they walked in each other's footprints in a single file through the forest. General Mladic of the Serbian forces puts 20,000 women and children on buses that take them to Tuzla in Muslim-held territory. The Bosniaks walk through the forest. Most are captured, some are shot and killed, some commit suicide. On July 14th, 1995, Bosnian Serbs begin the systematic execution of the Bosniak men held in Bratunac, burying the dead in mass graves near the killing sites. Over the next few months, they would attempt to cover up their crimes by reburying the remains in 33 different secondary sites. Between 7,000 and 8,000 men and boys were killed in Srebrenica. This is a genocide in Europe after the Holocaust. The International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia was set up to deliver justice and hold war criminals accountable. It has handed down 80 sentences so far, and the trials still continue. In April 2013, Serbian President Tomislav Nikolic issued an apology for what he called the crime that had been committed at Srebrenica, but he stopped short of calling the event genocide. In July 2011, a Dutch appeals court ruled that the Netherlands was responsible for the deaths of 3 Bosniak men, who, in July 1995, after Dutch forces forced them out of the UN compound, had been killed by Bosnian Serbs. The court's decision marked the first time in history that a country had been held liable for the actions of its peacekeeping forces operating under a UN mandate. In July 2014, the Dutch government was found liable by a Dutch court for the deaths of more than 300 Bosniak men and boys at Srebrenica. When you hear the word genocide, usually all you think about is the Holocaust. The sad reality is, despite the horrors of the Second World War and what went on in the Nazi concentration camps, genocides keep happening. After the Holocaust, you didn't only have Srebrenica, you had the Rwandan genocide as well. Now, there are reports of a genocide in Myanmar. The systematic persecution of a certain group is a crime that still haunts us today. The bodies of those murdered at Srebrenica are still being uncovered today. As Kofi Annan, the former Secretary General of the UN, said, "The tragedy of Srebrenica will forever haunt the UN." History Addicts, the Srebrenica Massacre. Please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me personally, and it allows me to keep making videos like these. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Наверно, к дому зима, дорожки все замела. В небе
небе над Грозным тают звезды в лучах зари.